I was let's say, not swift at school, academically or athletically. Mm-hmm. So I was the only child, and my parents were very worried about me. They thought, well, what on earth am I going to do? And one thing I could do, I was a very good mimic, and I could play the piano, and that sort of saved the day for me. But I was very introverted and rather shy, and my father suggested I could join the YMCA. So I did one night, and I hated joining anything. And there happened to be an amateur players group there, and I walked in and asked if I could join. And they put a sheet over me and told me to be a disciple in the niece to play. And I did that, and I felt very comfortable. And from then on, I became an actor. It was as literal as that. And I thought, well, and I enjoyed the feeling of being on stage, and I thought I could overcome shyness. Then I realized that there was more to it than that I couldn't find just an identity through acting. So over the years, I've gradually beginning to understand that my acting is a part of my life, and I'm comfortable with acting, and I'm comfortable in my life as an actor more than I've ever been. I enjoy acting more than I've ever enjoyed. I don't socialize much with actors. I stay away from them as much as possible. I live a very quotes normal life, because I think it's the only way to sanity is to, maybe it's, well, what I do, I switch off immediately after the job. After the work, I call it a job, you see. After the work, I switch off, and I go home and go to bed, or go out for dinner. So I couldn't do that. When I was doing Echoes here in New York, I would turn up 3 hours before the performance, and it was very difficult to leave the theatre. It was ridiculous. I mean, my life was totally unmanageable. I mean, I was a slave to acting, and I'm not anymore. It was a sort of neurosis, I think. I don't know. I was so involved and uptight about everything about acting, and I was so insecure. I wanted to be sure that it was perfect, and perfectionism of that kind is a sort of an insanity, I think. And I've just learned over the last couple of years to not take it so seriously, to treat it as a game and to drop the goals. And the paradox is that by dropping those goals, I feel much fresher and I feel much more powerful. And I feel that I have greater reserves because maybe my energy is being used like something sometimes takes over. When I did the film Magic, I trusted the director so much. I trusted the situation, and I learned the lines and learned what I had to do, and then threw myself in the deep end, and it was performed for me in a way. It's like call it power of subconscious mind or God or whatever you want to call it. And I trust more. I trust my inner reserves now, and so I know how to rest. I'm learning to it. I stole from Laurence Olivier unashamedly. I mean, I was in his production of Othello, and I used to watch and watch and watch. And what I find devastating about Olivier is that his capacity for work is phenomenal. I mean, he dares. I mean, he will put himself out not on a limb but on a twig. I mean, he will dare disaster, he will dare death. And I think in his own life he has dared all those things. I mean, he's been severely ill, he's been very ill, and he's recovered from these illnesses. I don't know how. I hear he's better now. But he can never understand laziness. I mean, to him, that's a mystery. When people don't strive to improve themselves technically, his technique is the most formidable technique I've ever seen. I mean, it's devastating. I was in the Othello, and one day I remember I had to play a very small part with no lines, just walk on stage and show him a map. And I used to hate it. I used to dread going on because he has the capacity to make you vanish on stage. And it's sort of enveloping part. And yes, he's been probably the most influential person in my life.
Olivier was astonishing. I actually consider myself incredibly blessed because I worked with Olivier, I worked with Ralph Richardson, and I also worked with John Gielgud. And they were probably the ruling triumvirate of the British theatre for certainly, really, the whole of the first half of the 20th century. And they were amazing men. They were extraordinary men. Ralph was one of the funniest men ever, and had a wicked sense of humor. John had this most incredible memory that he could recall where he was on a night. He had a total recall about VE night in London. Amazing stuff. And Larry was extraordinary because he came.
Sorry, I'm just going to stop for a second. Larry?
Oh, sorry, Sir Laurence Olivier. Larry, he was extraordinary because he was an actor. He wasn't But when you met him, I remember going for an audition for him, and he was like a bank manager. He wore glasses and conventional suit, and he wasn't like the roles that one had seen on stage and in film, like Richard III or Hamlet or any of those amazing performances that he gave. He was just very mundane. But I think as he got older, and he became more Sly Old Fox, actually. And we were doing this. We were doing Lear, and there was an actor called Edward Petherbridge and I were playing the Burgundy in France. And it was just one scene right at the beginning of the play. And he was quite old then, and also had been quite ill. He'd had prostate cancer, and he'd just recovered. And actually, it was within 2 years he'd be gone. But he would not. In the morning, we had another actor to rehearse for him, who stood in for him. And we rehearsed with this other actor. And then in the afternoon, we would record, and he would come in, and it was 5 cameras, and we would do the whole business. So it was the first scene of the play. And Larry was he was pretty tired, pretty exhausted. And he came in, and there'd been a production of Lear on the television the previous weekend, directed by Jonathan Miller, with Michael Hordern playing Lear, which was quite a good production. So we came in, and we were sitting as we do, waiting for the lights and the adjustments to happen. So we were sitting in a corner with these chairs, and he suddenly goes, did anybody see King Lear on the television last week? Yeah? No? And and then somebody would come and say, Sir Lawrence, we need to check your mic. Can you, sure, okay, fine. All right, thank you. Yeah. Did anybody see Michael Hordern on the television? And then somebody would come in again, and he would be whisked off, and he would come back, and he would sit there, and he'd go, we have got a wonderful cast. I love this cast. Johnny Hurt, what a wonderful actor. Colin Blakely, Leo McKern, and those great women, Diana Rigg and Anna they're wonderful. It's great. It's such a great cast. He said, I don't know my lines. I mean, no, I don't know a fucking word of this part. Not a fucking word. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why they're putting up with me. Because I really don't know a fucking word of this part. I said, no, Sir Lawrence, that's not true. You do. You're doing you're so sweet, you're so kind, it's so great. Did anybody see Michael Hordern last week on the television? He knew his lines. He knew all of his lines. And then he did this, on God's honor, he did this. But I'm still a better fucking actor than he is any day. We went, fucking hell, really. It was amazing. This energy came out of this 81-year-old man, and it was just staggering, And he would do little things, like he would try and knock you off guard. He was amazing, truly amazing.
Yes. Because we do a lot of film and television, we're faced with the fact that our destination is a mark on the floor. How do I take that and apply it?
The mark on the floor is still either near a table, near a chair. It's not spaceless. So the principle is identical. Why do I go to that table? Then you'll hit your mark more easily too. Okay, why do I go over there? Right. And that's your own. Most directors don't give you justification. You got to find your own anyway.
Right.
On stage too. Okay.
Movie acting is about control. And you control, people don't know that they're being controlled, but they're looking where I say you look, and they're listening to what I say, you know.
In a close-up, choose just one eye of the actor you're playing opposite.
Yeah, and don't go from eye to eye. The reason you choose an eye is because in this shot now, the camera is obviously there shooting me. If I look at you with this eye into your other eye, you've lost me. If I look at you with this eye into that eye, this eye is in the camera. And if you want to play strong, don't blink. If you want to play weak, blink. I mean, don't deliberately blink, but just, you can break it. But if you really want to play strong and you just look at someone like that, this camera can see this eye. And never change eyes. Only actors do that. People don't do that in real life.
Although, as you say, if you Hugh Grant, for example, he's
so funny because he blinks all the time because he's always nervous. He can't get the girl, and that is a very clever actor, letting you know that he's not very strong and he's nervous and he's upset. If you're playing a serious character in a movie, you know, as I often do, you don't want to be nervous and upset. When men cry, in particular, men will do anything but cry, you know? And so they are all men. When you cry, you must fight the tears. And if you fight the tears, the audience will cry for you. When I was originally, I was supposed to be a drunk when I was a young actor, and I came in drunk, and the producer stopped it and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm drunk, sir." He said, I'm drunk in this scene." He said, "I know you're drunk." He said, "But you're not a drunk." He said, "You're an actor trying to be drunk." I said, "What? I don't know what you mean." He said, "Well, you're an actor who's trying to walk crooked and talk slurred." He said, "A drunk is a man trying to walk straight and talk properly. Go out and do it again," which is sort of wonderful basis for movie acting, which is where you deal with the reality of it. You know, I mean, in a movie, in my impression is, what you're to be a good movie actor. If the audience is sitting there saying, "Oh, isn't Michael Caine a wonderful actor?" then I've done it all wrong. They should be saying, "I wonder what's going to happen to Harry Brown now." You know, that's the difference.
The method just simply means a method of work, an approach to work, so that you can connect with your character on as deep a level as possible, to really tell the truth. How not to act, that's what he taught. How not to pretend, to not act as though I feel bad, but to feel bad.
The way in which you cried, I lost the character. You would have to be aware of what's going on. Your heart breaks.
There are a lot of cliches around about what method acting is, you know, like if you tear your t-shirt, you're a method actor. And that's really not it.
Because I'm a geek, okay, I think the words method acting always trigger I feel like responding to that with a sort of 4-hour-long lecture as to what method acting may or may not be. And so it's like, oh, I'm glad you asked, but we haven't got the time. So fundamentally, in a nutshell, there's two types of acting: convincing and not convincing. And the midway between the two is any method necessary, including fake it to make it. I could be saying something and thinking, what's for lunch? And that could work and translate. So no, it's not necessary. I think what is really necessary for me as an actor, and only speaking for myself, is the nature of the relationships on set and the who knows the most. And best idea wins in service of a text, and if something is translating or not. So I feel comfortable that I can reach a character definition. I feel comfortable if Jeff says that's not very convincing and it doesn't hurt, or if that's working, and to keep investigating. So it's a little bit more like fetching a stick for dog, like a lot of sticks. But it was more less method acting and more enjoyment of task achievement or goal orientated achievement in an ensemble.
I tell people when they're joking about method, I am a method actor, always. And whether I'm doing Norma Ray or something seemingly lightweight and silly, I am quintessentially a method actor. I prepare totally with the methods with which I was taught. So I would never lose the accent. I would wear the clothes she would wear. I would go and work in the mill. Whatever it is, I didn't do it. I would walk around and and use whatever exercises to find her walk and find her rhythm and be it, so that you were no longer acting, you were behaving.
By the way, that's what I want to talk about, that some of your activities, when the activities stay pieces of business, you're using them wrong. In other words, you see, if I'm hanging up pants, I'm hanging them over this thing. Now when this, that they're right, becomes more important than what I'm hearing here, this is not serving you. It doesn't mean that I don't do this, but you see, if I'm doing this and she says, say to me, I want you out of here. Okay, now wait.
I want you out of this apartment.
What do you mean out of here?
You certainly don't think that we're going to live here together, do you, after tonight?
Whatever, but then I go on with this. But I don't have to finish my piece of business. You follow?
Yes, yes.
And the same with the tooth. You thought, well, I might do that there. So now it becomes the toothbrushing. You stop hearing, and you might head here, and you might start that. Then she's saying something, you might never get to it. Do you follow? But when that becomes, then I have to do that, and how does the cap open, and how would I do this here? Then you stop hearing and connecting.
Okay.
That's why I always say do all the activities before you ever learn the lines.
Yeah, I think it started from the beginning.
It would. It's very hard to shake that, and really, rather than arriving at it organically so that it's incorporated into the work, it becomes disassociated. You say, I got to do something there, so it becomes a piece of business.
Right.
Right? And that, I felt, stopped you a lot. Okay. Very good.
Well, I'm not really afraid of them. Of course, I'm like everybody else. I just work real hard. I've been as poor as anybody could be, so I had everything to gain and nothing to lose. So I just kind of work without fear because it's fun for me. It's like, if I fail, it's no big deal. If something don't work out, I'm not afraid of failure, because to me, I never feel like a loser. You know, even when I've lost, I still, feel like I'm winning, because I'm earning some sort of experience and something that I can use somewhere else.
I heard it from my agent, Meg Mortimer, one of those brilliant angels in my life, who used to be Ambrosia Mortimer was an agency that used to exist. She was my agent. I never worked. She kept coming in and saying, hang in there. She kept saying, you're the best kept secret in this business. I was like, well, why don't you tell somebody? Because like I'm done with this. I really would like to let the cat out of the bag at this point. But she would say, hang in there, and it meant the world to me. But the only thing that, if you don't really, and people said this to me, and I don't think I understood it until the last few years, if you don't really love to act, then you should do something else, because it's way too hard. If what you love to do is act, then you will find a way to do it, no matter what the forum is, no matter if there's pay or not, no matter if it ends up costing you, which many things did, putting money together to rent a space to do a play. If you love to act, you will act, and whatever form that's supposed to take in your life, it will. The last thing I ever expected is what's happening to me now. It's not what I wanted even, and I'm thrilled with it, but it's almost irrelevant. And if the show ended tomorrow and nobody ever cast me again, I would still be acting. I'd be renting out this space to do a play written by a friend of mine, because it's what I love to do. It's not about who sees it, how much money you make, if you're famous. For me, it was never about that.